Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the League of Inches podcast. Joel, Trav, and Jake are here tonight for your NRL weekly edition of the podcast. As we always do, quick shout out to our League of Inches legends. We obviously went through all of them last week. Pat since had 4 join over the last few days as well. I think that has to do with a little bit of this big giveaway we actually are doing, which I'll talk a little bit more about as well as we go. But just want to say a massive thank you to EJ, Martin, Shane, and there was one more, Ben, I'm pretty sure it is there. So I really appreciate all 4 of your support. Obviously, again, guys, $2.99 a month, League of Inches Legends Facebook subscriber group. Plenty of Supercoach content in there at the moment. There's Supercoach Mad, but there is also a fair bit of NRL exclusive stuff in there also, which is awesome. You get double entries into all of these giveaways that we do, and I promise you now there is plenty more to come. So it's a great time to be part of it. I think that we've got like a 70% strike rate so far, maybe even 80, that these League of Inches legends are actually winning our prizes. So definitely worth it. It's a huge advantage. And then 10% off merch as well. So if you can, $2.99 a month, cheapest chips, cheaper than a coffee these days. And you're helping us, helping support the page and helping support yourselves as well to win some cool prizes. So before I throw to the boys just quickly as well, get that out of the way with the thank you to Con at Freedom Finance Group. Jumped on board this week. Obviously, is a sponsor of ours already. You can see it on the screen there for the YouTube watchers. For the 2025 NRL jersey giveaway of your choice. So simply go in. You can enter as many times as you want. Just individually tag someone, and that's the vote. Again, if you're a Legends member, that's doubled your entries each and every time. Make sure you give them a like and subscribe as well on Instagram, Facebook, and you can win your team's jersey for this year. So what they're now about $170 it's worth to get a jersey. That's an awesome prize. Drawn this Saturday, 5 p.m. So make sure you're there, got your entries in. It's going to take me a hell of a long time to make this spinny wheel up, I reckon, but all be worth it in the end. Hope that the winner really appreciates it and gets the right jersey. But boys, Trav, how's things, mate? Back into a bit of reality, I think, for a few of us this today.
Yeah, so all the kids came back today. So, yeah, Queensland school public system, kids returned to school for the first day today. It was pretty awesome, man. It was good to have the kids back and get into routines and have real life. It's good to be in that routine now.
There was a lot of happy parents, I think, today that were thinking, yes, they're back at school. And then they've copped it this afternoon with some tired kids who are not used to that little bit of a grind that we've got to go through. And I'll tell you what, I'm a bit tired myself, but we are pumping on tonight. We are really loving all the support you're all giving us. So that gets us on here, gets us pumped up again, and we'll spit some facts and our thoughts to you guys. You seem to be loving it, so thank you. Jake, how's things, mate? I believe you're still just chilling. You're loving life.
Yeah, I've still got 9 days till we go back because of where I am. We have this thing. It's called Heat Week, where basically we get the first week off of school, or the kids get it off too because it's just too hot to go back where I'm at. So yeah, I'm still just sort of chilling, starting to do some planning and stuff and making sure everything's all good to go for the school term. But other than that, yeah, it's great.
What is the temperatures you've got there?
We're hitting 40s, 40, 41, 42.
Damn.
Wow.
Victoria is north of Victoria, I think Mildura and
I didn't make
45.
I didn't make the rules, so you know what? I'm just going to be taking part in the Heat Week and accept it.
That is ridiculous. 41. That is not nice at all. Oops.
That makes sense.
I've bumped my camera there. All right, we're going to get into it. What we're going to do tonight. So I want to pre-warn everyone. We've got 2 really big episodes coming up. Next week, we'll probably do our ladder predictions. And then the week after that, we will do our big season NRL preview, all 17 teams included. Sit down, have a bit of a yarn, be a bigger episode. You seem to all love those big ones, especially when it comes to the Supercoach stuff. So we're going to bring that into the NRL side of it, have a deep dive into each team and go from there. So really keen for those ones. What we're going to do tonight, I feel like this year there's a lot of excitement building for a number of players in the competition. There's all these sort of storylines we can have when it comes to these players. What we're going to do tonight is give you our top 5. So we'll have 15 players all up, or we might double up on a couple. We'll go around basically a round table type scenario, give you one at a time, and give you our player that we're excited for, why we're excited for, and have a bit of a chat. Someone might disagree or someone might say something, and we'll just have a bit of yarn, maybe have a bit of a heated debate at some point, knowing us that'll happen. But Trav, I think you've been nominated to go first. So off you go, mate. Give us your first player you are most excited to watch this year.
I'm just looking at my notes here, and then I thought, what I put first, I might make 5th. I might just change it around and just let you boys speak a little bit first, and then see what happens. But I'll write that at the end, because you were saying that we've got 15 names. I can guarantee there's going to be more than 15 by the time I'm finished. So my first one the first one I want to go, let's play the game and go by the rules, is Isaiah Iongi. And I wrote, so he's still eligible for Rookie of the Year, which is nice. Replacing Gutho, and there's obviously the story behind that. Gutho obviously is a god at para. Touted as one of the best juniors through the Penrith system in some recent time. So, and Penrith have produced a huge amount of pretty good players in the competition. So, but he's been touted as one of the best ones. It's got big shoes to fill. And then I'm also going to put down, and I know that we're an overall, this conversation is more of an overall NRL thing, but he's very heavily owned in Supercoach, so there's a lot of pressure on him too. So I've started off with my number 1, or my number 2 player to watch is Isaiah Iongi.
Nice. Jakey, what you got anything to add?
Oh, I mean, as a para fan, he's on my list, but I don't have him in like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I just have like a general 5 players I'm excited, because I didn't know we were doing it that way. But
no, I did the same thing. I've just
okay, yeah, right. Well, yeah, he's someone who I'm very excited to see, because he was stuck behind Dylan Edwards, probably the best fullback in the game right now, arguably. I'd be confident in saying I think he's the best fullback in the game, and he's stuck behind him. So it's like how we got Hopgood, because he was stuck behind Yo, and I love that. So you know what, I'm happy to just keep poaching those players who keep getting stuck behind. I'm fine by me, and I'm very excited from what I'm hearing in training reports and stuff. He is very electric, and that's what you want from an Eel. So you know what, very, very excited to see him go.
Well, who have you got as your first one?
Well, again, not in an order, but I have actually got. I want to see how Campbell Graham goes coming back from injury. It's been 514 days, I think I read today, since he last played a game of NRL.
Wow.
It was 2023 where he did his sternum. He had a sternum injury, and he had 27 pain-injecting needles, which actually caused part of his sternum to die. Like, it actually, one of the bones died in his sternum, and so he had to get it grafted from his hip bone. And that's why he's been out for just so long. And so, first of all, he's coming back. Last time he would have played, it was under Demetrio, but he has played under he's played under Bennett before. But it's not even just that. It's just I want to see how he comes back from injury. I want to see. He was such a powerful sort of player when he got injured. He was one of the best centers in the game at the time, and I just want to see whether he can come straight back into that form, or if he struggles a little bit with that.
I think that's a spot-on comment what you make there, because I think a lot of people out there are forgetting just how good he was before he did get this injury. He was, I think he was on the edge of rep football, playing for that Australian team, I'm pretty sure it was. He was just easily top 3 center in the competition at the time. He was in ridiculous form, and it's been, I guess, shit for a lot of these South Sydney fans and just rugby league fans in general, because one thing I think a lot of us can all appreciate is a good player. One of those just goers. He'll just go and he'll try his heart out, and he's also got the skill to back up when needed, and that's exactly what Campbell Graham is. So I'm hoping, I've got everything crossed for him. He can come back. We see the player that we know he can be. I think it's a fantastic shout.
Yeah, I love it too. I actually wrote as a 6th point, just because I was hoping what some of you boys would write returning players or coming back from injury players, there's a few out there that I'm really keen to see. And so, yeah, I wrote down the returning players. So he was definitely one of them I'm keen to see. I'm really keen to go and to see Gilbert from the Dolphins, and a number of others. So, yeah, which I won't get into too much. But, yeah, I'm certainly glad that he was mentioned because I think he's in for a big year, and I'm really keen to watch him myself.
He's someone they've definitely been missing. Like, it's probably under spoken about how much they've missed out on the edges. Because imagine last year when they had Whiten come across to be their center. Imagine the other center being Campbell Graham. That's a strong, powerful center duo, and they can both pass. They both have that good passing ability to their outside men. They can both defend and score tries. So you know what? They would have had good options either way to go to, and it would have probably really changed their season. But
and Graham's so different, right? As he's not your prototypical center, though, is he? He's so big. No. He's just tall.
He's lanky a bit, but yeah.
But then he's got the Inspector Gadget arms and legs. He's lanky. Yeah, he's not your prototypical center that we think of. It. Yeah, I think that's what makes him such a wonderful athlete.
True.
And to be honest, Jake, it's a perfect segue into my first choice because I've got my play written down as Latrell Mitchell. And I feel like I'm not as excited about Latrell this year as I have been in other years because I feel like I've now been burnt too many times. I reckon in the last 3 years now, I've bought into the Latrell Mitchell preseason hype and how good he's going to be and how much he's going to turn himself around. I'm more keen to see this year just how much Latrell has learned over the last 6 months and just to see the type of player he comes back at this year. Yes, everyone's talking about Wayne Bennett and how good Wayne Bennett can be for him. At the end of the day, the only person that can be good for Latrell Mitchell and get him to that point in his game and that consistency is Latrell Mitchell. So he can have all those next to him. He can have all these players come back from injury and a much stronger South Sydney team on paper playing with him each and every week. He can have the better coach, but if Latrell Mitchell isn't there, and we've seen it too many times over the last probably 2 years where one thing will happen and it's just a downward spiral that he can't get out of. And it's a shame because he honestly is one of the most skillful players in this competition. He can change a game in a heartbeat. I don't think he realizes how good he can be and is. We've seen in the Origin arena, he loves that. He froths that bigger environment where people are hunting him and he can go all out. He's just got to channel that a bit better. He just got to realize that how important he is to this South Sydney team now. If he fires, South Sydney can almost be a top 4 team. It's all on him, really. It's just, yeah, I just think Latrell, I'm not as high on him, but I'm just really keen for the storyline to come from this year because if he doesn't get it right, I honestly have really worrying concerns for him moving forward in his NRL career because I think it will just quickly nosedive and he won't do it this year under Wayne. I don't think he can do it again.
Something a little interesting you sort of mentioned there. Sorry, Trav. Something a little interesting you mentioned there was how he, in Origin, how he sort of stepped up. And that is very true. But something also to sort of mention is he played center. And don't get me wrong, when he's on at fullback, he is probably up there with the best, if not the best, fullback in the game when he's on. But like you said as well, it's been too few and far between his on and off games. And one thing that he sort of has in him is that ability to go missing and be a bit lazy, right? And if Wayne gets up him and kind of and they get him sort of figuring out what he needs to be doing and the times where he's not on the ball and whatever, and try and use him even when he isn't getting the ball and being that main man at the time, if he can somehow work out a way to be a decoy in there, because you know that every team is looking at him. You know that he is that threat of a player. If somehow he can be used in that way as well when he's not getting the ball so that he's not always a target kind of thing, then I see no reason why he can't be back at his best at the thing. But I just think it's the same thing like we've said. At center, he doesn't have to always be on the ball, but when he does get the ball, he gets that opportunity to go crazy. Do you know what I mean? So he's not going to change. I don't think he's ever going to go back to center. We know he doesn't want to. We know he loves the money there. So it's he's not going to try to go back to center. But it's definitely his best position. At fullback, he does look fitter this year. I've seen it. And, there's that storyline of he got rid of his pub at his pub. He got rid of his bar at his house for a gym in his garage. That's something that he did apparently. And, hopefully he does look fitter. He looks way fitter this year than he has over the last 2 years, kind of thing. And I hope he comes back and smashes it. And I can see him doing that for sure. So he's definitely exciting. But you're right. If he can't do it this year, it's been too many years now where everyone's gone, oh, he'll be back this year. This is it. This is his big fullback year.
He's one of my top 5. So it's a great call, I think, Joel. There's no doubt in my mind, Latrell, based off talent alone, is a top 3 to 5 player, no doubt. Yeah, I would argue that through my brick walls, that are based off his talent. As you said, Jake, like literally at a whim, when he clicks his fingers and he feels like he wants to do it, the magic just comes, just like that. And bang, he changes a game just like that. There ain't no one else in the competition, in my opinion, that can actually do that like that. You know, the likes of Cleary. Cleary's just, he's amazingly skillful, but Cleary grinds you, right? He just grinds and grinds and grinds, doesn't make mistakes, knows exactly where to pinpoint a kick, knows exactly where to pinpoint a pass and do stuff, and he just grinds the crap out of you. Latrell Mitchell doesn't have to do that, but then just at a whim will win you a game. Bang. He won't do anything for 75 minutes, and we've seen him win games in 5. Like, it's just unbelievable what he can do. The problem is that he's his own worst enemy, right? He just does stupid things, and that's literally what it is, right? There is literally no one in this game that can stop Latrell Mitchell except himself. And that's playing him at full back, right? And in my opinion, he's obviously, as you said, Jake, a better center. 100% he is. He's a better center, but he's a pretty bloody good fullback too. So, you know, and when you can do that, you might as well go and do the fullback because that's where you're going to get paid, right? So it makes sense. But in my opinion, he's definitely a better center. The thing that I've got with him is that he ended 2024 under huge scrutiny, right? And I think he's under the point now where I don't think he's got any more lives. So this cat's run his line lives and he's got none left. He starts this year under scrutiny as well, and it's lingering over because he's suspended for the first week based off that. I think that's why I put him down a little bit, put him onto this list as well, is because that is lingering. So I'm really keen to see what he can do. And how he goes. I've seen the pictures. We've all seen the pictures. We've all read the stories. We all know he's got the wonder coach in Bennett to pressure him. He plays for probably the most known club in the competition under the Bunnies. So the pressure that the Bunnies are going to put on him this year with what they've done to get Bennett, I've definitely got him in my watch list, and I'm really keen to see what he does.
I'll go now back to Jake then. I that was one of your 5, Trav, and you went deeper into that one. So I'll note that one down. So Jake, give us your second.
Well, again, I've got more than 5. But look, I hate to say this. I wouldn't technically say I'm excited to see him play because he's in enemy colours and he used to be an Eel. But Isaiah Papali'i returning, hopefully, I reckon, to form this year at the Panthers. So he obviously came from smashing it at the Eels, going to the Tigers and sort of doing a bit of nothing for 2 or 3 years there. But we all know what the Panthers do to players at the moment, and we all know what he's capable of because we've seen it. And I think he's going to dead set just come straight back into doing those crazy things. They apparently they're going to start him on an edge, and I think that he is going to just come back in and seriously just show us all like it's not him, it was the team he was at. And I think that's what he's trying. He'll come in and do. I think for the Panthers, he's just going to come in and I hate it because he's enemy territory, but he's going to just smash it. I can feel it.
I know there's been a lot of hype regarding Isaiah Papali'i. I know Jesse loves him as well. Shout out to Jesse, who isn't able to be on tonight. Really getting into his Supercoach stuff, guys. So be careful. Tomorrow night is going to be a huge episode once again. I just have so many reservations still. And whether it's not, I'm not talking Supercoach, I'm talking NRL now. I still think there's just way too much quality around Penrith. People keep thinking he's just automatically walking into this spot. For mine, Sorensen and Martin have a mortgage on that edge spot for as long as they basically want it because they've got the runs on the board. Let's not forget last year, Luke Garner turned himself around, who was an ex-Tiger as well, was made to earn it. And anytime he got a spot there, actually killed it as well. So I don't think he necessarily walks into it. If anything, I've heard a couple of rumors around that he's going to be in the middle a lot as well. And he's going to be made to work his butt off to get into this Panthers side. And I think he's probably coming off the bench. I think if he returns to form, it's very scary. I think he can be one of the better edge forwards in the competition, but I just don't know if he'll get the 80-minute stints that people are hoping or expecting he'll go straight back into, because, yeah, you can always say it's the Tigers, but they also look at his body shape and stuff. I don't want to call him out or anything, but he clearly wasn't all there and didn't really care from the start of being there. And there was rumors from almost the start of that contract he didn't want to go there. And his head wasn't there. Very, very clear that that's the case. And let's see. I hope for Penrith's sake, and I mean, not for Penrith's sake, sorry, because they'll cover him if it doesn't work out. But yeah, I don't know. I can understand your point, Jake, for sure. I'm just not buying it as much yet, because I think it's more because I just know Penrith, what they've got at the moment. They don't necessarily need him.
Yeah, but that's the scary thing, right? Is that they don't need him, but they've got him. And that's the scary thing.
But just because they've got him doesn't mean the minutes are going to be there, doesn't mean the stats are going to be there, doesn't mean the enforcer that he should be is going to be there with what you're seeing at Para. I rate him. I think he's a good dude. I think he's a good player. I think he's got great talent. I just don't think he picked the right spot for him in terms of what I think he can do. And there's other clubs out there that could get him back to that Para amazing play where he was the best forward in the game or in that role. I'm not sold on him just yet. I'm certainly keen to see him and what he can do and hope he does. But yeah, I also, like Joel, don't see the minutes. I don't see the play. I think there's too many mouths to feed. And although there's James Fisher-Harris has left and there's a few different shuffles that need to happen, which may potentially open up some spots. I just don't see it just yet.
You can quote me on this if you want to. By the end of this season, he is going to be one of the best second rowers again in the game.
I will quote you on that, mate.
Go for it.
I'll quote that for sure.
Yeah. So, but see, he's left that really open because he says he's going to be one of the best. Like, so, like, is that? Are you one of 10? Are you one of 20?
He'll be considered a top. Yeah, no, I'll say a top 10 because there's still heaps of second rows in the game. Top 5. Fine. You know what?
Don't be so.
Fine. You know what? He's going to be a top 5 second rower in the game by the end of the season.
5, damn. Yeah, no, I don't think so. I don't think that's going to be close.
Fine. That's fine. Lock it in.
I reckon surely you're looking at have fun trying to do that. That's not happening.
Yeah, I don't know. But we'll leave you with that, Jake. It's not here to bag yet.
Once he's in and in that side, once he does get his crack, he's going to show why he's getting that crack and he's going to keep it. Unless he gets injured or something happens, he's going to keep that spot. Because he'll fit into the system, just like he did at Para. There was no system at Tigers. I don't know what they were doing.
To finish on, to agree with you somewhat, if he can go back to somewhat of that Para form, which is now, 3 years ago, and he has Cleary with him, look out competition, because that is a very scary proposition for sure. So hopefully he's got his head back in the game. I think that's the club where you basically have to walk in the doors with your head in the game. If not, they'd just flick you. They'd go, see you later, go play. Not even reserve grade, because their reserve grade side kills it every week as well. Yeah. Go and play something else. So
he's also only 26, so he's still got plenty.
Correct.
Yeah, he's still got a number of years. So we'll see what happens. My number 2, one of Travis' boys, and a peek into this. I actually got 2 of his boys. Cameron Munster, obviously a huge year last year in terms of was out for, it felt like so much of it. I also looked back and he actually did end up playing a few more games than I thought he actually got through last year, which was a bit surprising because I just felt like his injury was ages, but maybe he just had a few quieter games when he was on as well. I think the Melbourne Storm, and I've said it a number of times, so look, it's not a spoiler for next week. I think the Melbourne Storm will win the comp and are rightly favourites for the competition this year. To do that, they've got all these guns all over the park, but for mine, to win the competition, they need the Mad Dog. They need Cameron Munster to be at his brilliant best, to shine on the biggest stage like we've seen him do on so many times in the past, whether it's for Australia, Queensland, or the Melbourne Storm in parts as well. And I think he has a little bit of, in the back of his mind, he wants to get one of these competitions without the big 3. He wants to grab that, and he wants to make sure he's like that main centerpiece now of of the team and that guy and leave that legacy on the comp. So I'm really looking forward to seeing this year. I'm not going to say, I don't know if it's fully fit yet, because I've heard mixed reports that he's not even fully training yet, which is not great, but obviously he's coming back from a bit of surgery. So I'm just hoping, I don't know if I'm hoping either, because it makes the Storm a very daunting task this year versus almost fully fit Cameron Munster and him back to that sort of form. It's very scary. Are you confident, Trav?
Oh, well, I was going to let Jake go first, but I don't think we'll see. Well, we won't see Munster fully fit, I reckon, until maybe halfway through the year. He's had some major surgery, like that was some pretty full on surgery that he had to do. So he hasn't, from what I've seen, he's not fully participating in training drills and things like that, contact and stuff. So correct me if I'm wrong. I'm obviously not watching it. I'm only sort of reading reports or trying to do stuff. So happy for people to write that in and give us an update, which would be even better if he is doing more than what I'm saying, because maybe my halfway Cameron Munster hits the ground running, then it is better to have it at start. But I'm super keen. I didn't put him down on my list because I don't have the pressure. And I'm not putting the pressure on the Mad Dog with what he can do. I know what he can do. There's some pressure on some other players, which I'll talk about in a second, and segue into that after Jake sort of has his say on this. But I'm very keen to see what he does. What I do hope is, and here's what I think is going to happen is, what I hope is going to happen is that he says no to Origin. If he can say no to Origin this year, that hurts me as a Queensland fan, because I reckon New South Wales are sitting there going, thank Christ, I'd love to not play Queensland with Munster back, because we know what did for us last year. So can we only imagine what Munster's going to do? But even though we didn't win, but still, I hope he doesn't, and then he just focuses on the Storm this year and just gets himself going and gets fit and plays out a whole year. But I'm pretty keen.
Jake, any comments on the Mad Dog?
Yeah, I got some comments.
Jump in then. Don't be shy.
You boys might be surprised. I can't give away my source, but I have a bit of insider information that he will play. He's confident he'll play round one.
Here we go. He's dropping a bit of magic dust. Look out, some big talk here.
But anyway, moving on from that, I won't talk too much about that. But
you can't drop news like that and then just go, no, I'm not going to talk about it.
Yeah, I can. I'm going to. So Munster's an interesting one for me, because obviously we all know what he can do, and he's not as like Latrell. He's like Latrell in the sense that he can flip a switch and win a game. We know that. He's more, I think, of a constant competitor throughout a game. There's one thing that I think he does, and Tyron Wishart did a good job of not doing this last year for the Storm, and that's why I think they're flying so heavily first, is sometimes I feel like Cameron Munster is so good, but he plays such to his own style that he can almost disrupt the Storm in a way. Like, it sounds silly, I know, but because he kind of does his own thing and plays it his own way, at times it can look like the team gets a bit disjointed, kind of watching him and figuring out what he's going to do in some stages. But then he, just runs through the whole team and scores a try, so it doesn't really matter. But the guy's a freak, and we know that at the peak of his powers, he's exciting to watch. The guy is just probably one of the best 5'8", if not the best in the game at fully fit. So, seeing him come back from injury while sucking as an Eels fan is going to be a very, very exciting player to watch for sure.
And that's probably the last thing I'll say on it. It's another player for mine. I feel like a lot of people out there have forgotten just how good Cameron Munster is because of an injury run that he's had recently. So if he can get back to that and remind a lot of people out there just how good he is, like that's scary. Trav, what about number 3?
It segues nicely into my next point, and that's the 2024 Dally M winner, Jerome Hughes. I'm really keen to see what he puts up this year and what he can do again. His improvement around last year was just immense. Like what he did, and because he had to with the injuries and things that we had to deal with in Origin and all that sort of stuff was just enormous. He became that amazing on-field leader that Bellamy has said that he's been trying to get out of him for years since he put him into the halfback, and because he had to again last year, and he wins himself a Dally M. So to me, he's the best running halfback. He's probably the best try scoring halfback in the game. That's my own personal opinion. I think my question is, how does he go another level, and how he welcome backs Munster back, which is kind of why I segued into that, to what he welcomes back and has his little half partner in Munster, and pretty much has the Storm goes into, if Jake's source is legit, and we've got a healthy full spine leading into round 1, which is just not something the Storm have been able to say for a while. So, geez, that's exciting. I'm really keen to see what the rate, and I just can't. You just can't not have the rating Dally M winner in your top 5 players to watch, because you've kind of, like, he just became the best for the year. He was the best player in the competitions. Can you do it again? Like, you got to see it. So to me, I had to have him.
Jerome Hughes is he's funny as well, because he stepped up so hard when obviously Cameron Munster wasn't there. Kind of similar to a certain someone who else is on my list, who we'll talk about soon. But he stepped up so hard, like, because his halves partner wasn't there. And it's kind of same as what I was saying with Munster, is it's almost like when Munster's on the field, it can take away a bit of Hughes' shine. Like, he kind of takes, because he takes control of the side sort of well, like on his own kind of thing, it kind of takes away from Hughes at times, where I feel like as long as, if Munster's happy to sort of sit back and let Hughes keep running the show like he sort of did last year, and kind of only input himself when it's really necessary or when he really sees something, then they're going to soar. They're going to be absolutely unstoppable. If they do what they kind of have done, and they still smashed it in the past because they're both so individually good, it doesn't matter. But it almost felt like at times, like I said, Munster sort of like takes away from Hughes because he's such a big presence himself in that way.
Joel, do you mind if I jump in, man, without you having your say there?
Go, mate.
I actually really like that point, Jake, and I'm not going to argue with it at all, because I know what you're saying. But there was a couple in the end of year review that I did with Joel for the Melbourne Storm. I kind of said, and I said this a few times last year, one of the best things about it, and it can be deceptive, right? And this is the point that I think you just made, is it can be really deceptive, is that the best thing about the spine players, and even what Wishart did last year when he had to replace it, was that when they see Harry Grant and he goes, and Harry Grant just says, yep, it's my turn for 15 minutes, and he turns it on, the rest of them take a step back and they go, yep, cool, it's your turn, right? And then, like, when they all sit there and they see Pappenhausen, it's like, okay, well, he's just finding gaps amazingly, like, and how he's doing stuff and what he's doing. Yeah, we're just going to feed him, and the rest of them step back. And then when Hughes goes, okay, I need to and he does a big run, or I can see that he's now finding the space and he's reading things. Everyone else takes a step back, and Munster's the same. It's deceptive because you're saying it takes the shine off the other players, and I don't think it does. I think what it does is, to me, it shows a really good positive where the other players go, right, it's his turn, or he's turned it on for this game. I'm just going to sit back because we're so tight. We're such a gelled unit, or like I think is what you were trying to say. We're all connected, and it becomes deceptive. So I'm not having to go at your point, because I actually know what you're saying. I just think it's a bit deceptive in terms of what you see, because the 4 of them just sit there and be like, yeah, all right, I'm okay to take that step back at times to watch them dominate and do what they've got to do. So I just sort of wanted to chuck that in.
But couldn't you imagine how much stronger that side would be if they all did that at the same time, though? Like, if they were all doing what you just said at the same time, they would just explode any team out of their way. It
won't work.
It wouldn't work.
Like that.
You can't have all 4 of them dominating like that. It would never happen in any league. But yeah, I know what you're saying, 100%. Yeah. If you could get all 4 of them just going, all right, here we go, and no one takes a step back, holy moly! Like you'd never. No one had come within a close second or at all of them. But yeah, it wouldn't work. It couldn't happen.
Jake, here you got his number 3.
I feel like when we're doing this list, I was trying not to do big names, but they're like I was trying to look for some players who like more up and coming. But there's one name that we just cannot go past, and that is Jerome Luai. We have, I think he's the one that everyone in the competition is going to be watching because you know what? He's talked the talk. That's the important thing. Is that he has come out and he said to the big bosses at Tigers, you know what? If I looked last year, apparently he watched every game twice last year of the Tigers. Crazy, first of all, like that is chore. And he goes, "Yep, I would have taken him to the top 8." Ooh, if he does not back that up, he is going to be hated. Hated by Tigers.
See, here's what's going to happen. Because I like that. But remember when LeBron James signed at the Miami Heat and he went not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, but 7. And now everyone freaking hates him because he had that arrogance. Because it's every Australian talks about how much they hate LeBron because of that. Jesus, man, can you imagine what all the NRL fans are going to do against Jerome Luai when that doesn't happen?
He said it too. He goes, you know what? If I was there, we would have made the 8. He said it.
I know.
And you know what? Now, if they don't make the 8 next year, that's just he's cool.
I can't wait for the NRL fans to do that to him.
In the same sense.
I've got to stop you for a second, Jake, and I've got to be my producer because there's people yelling right now. Put your mic back to how it was because it's picking up the mic from your headphones and it sounds great when it's actually there. Just go back, just pull it to the front so everyone can hear it. It was good.
Sorry, how's that?
Yeah, that's perfect. I want to make sure everyone can hear you. That's all.
Right. Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
For some reason, they keep switching off my desk mic. Sorry about that.
Yeah, that's right.
But I will play devil's advocate though. I love that he's backed himself. Like I do love that confidence. I want to say it is arrogance, absolutely. But you know what? If he can back it up, then he's a hero to the Tigers. Because imagine he does take them through and they do make the 8, which isn't impossible with the side that they made a few key signings and they've got a bit of a stronger side than they probably have over the last 2 years. It's not impossible. If he does sort of step up like he did at the Panthers and he has still got Galvin, he's still got a great hooker in what's his name? Appy
Coruscant.
And you've still got Buller at the back who isn't, he's pretty good as a fullback. He's not, not terrible. They definitely could make the 8. There's no reason why they can't. And if they do, he's going to be an absolute hero, a cult icon at the Tigers. But
you know what I really like
either way. Yeah.
About his whole coming out and being so boisterous with this is the Tigers haven't had it since bloody 2005, since they've had players with actual confidence at their club that are like, I'm this guy. I'm going to do this. We are not going to get the shit kicked out of us every week. We're actually going to go out there and we're going to win some games. We're going to make that. We're going to win a comp. Like the Tigers haven't had that for something. It feels like they've had a whole group of players over the last number of years who are happy to accept the loss. Like it's sorry to say it out there, but you can't lose as much as they have been and have this losing culture. If you're so losing for them has become a habit. It's become acceptable. And the way that they talk, a lot of their players, they're defeated. How refreshing is it now to know that the Tigers have, and it's not just him, there is 1 or 2 other signings that they've made this year who are confident with their own ability, which will then rub off onto their own teammates as well. And I just think it's so refreshing. I think there's Tigers fans out there. Look, there'll be people out there that constantly laugh at the Tigers, 100% with what's happened. But when's it going to change? It's going to change with having these sorts of players who are going to influence the rest of their teammates to go, you know what? We are a really good team. We've got some great players here and we can beat some of these better teams. Like there's no reason why we're not in the top 8 at the end of the year fighting for the premiership. And I love that Jerome Luai has come full circle. This time a year ago, couldn't stand the bloke. I thought he was the most arrogant bloke in the world, up himself, had no real right to be either because I was very critical of his game and I thought Nathan Cleary carried him a lot. And I'm happy to put my hand up and say it at the time. 2024, he completely changed me on how I viewed Jerome Luai. I think he grew his game and grew himself as a person. Since he signed on that dotted line for the Tigers, I think he improved himself a lot. And that's been eating at him. I think he's been so keen now for 12 months to take this team, make it his own, and show everyone out there that he can do this. And plenty of people will doubt him. It's not going to be easy. There's no doubt about that. But there's one thing for sure. I think his confidence and the type of player and person he's become, I'm not going to doubt him either.
Yeah. I'm not sold on him. I'm very keen to watch what he does and how he plays at the Tigers for sure because of that arrogance and things. But yeah, it's still the Tigers. It's still the Tigers, and until I see something different, I'm going to believe that. I need them to show me more before my opinion changes, and I don't think you can have any. I just don't. I don't think Jerome Luai is a franchise changer, a game changer. I think he's a good player. I think he showed last year for the Panthers that he's a bloody good player. I just don't think he's that player that can just carry a franchise. I just don't. I just can't see that happening. But I'll put a couple of things here. Like what you were saying, like this year, there's an expectation they're going to get better. They're going to beat good sides. They beat some good sides last year. Like they beat the Sharks 32-6.
Cowboys, was that last year?
Hang on, I'll keep going through the results. They also beat the Raiders 48-24 in round 16. They then got smoked by the Sharks 58-6.
Do you think that could be attributed? Could that be attributed to overconfidence from those teams, though? Realistically,
and they beat Manly in round 25. So they had a couple of big wins against some really good teams, but they just when they lost, they got flogged like that. They lost the Eels 26-60 in round 27 in the game to try and get off the bottom of the ladder. Like, they lost the Knights 34-18. Like when they lost, they just got pummeled, and that's the difference. And I just don't think Jerome Luai is going to change that too much. Yes, there's other players there. Yeah. Oh, 100%. And something to watch, definitely.
Yeah. My third, I was trying to avoid doing this, but I ended up doing it. I didn't really want to go a player from my own team, but here I am. Dylan Brown in the media at the moment. If I'm going to be honest, I don't know if I'm going to go at this in a good way either. As a fan, I'm very frustrated at the moment with Dylan Brown. Not just with what's going on at the moment. I think that's his manager doing a manager thing, and I've always been about that. I'm not going to bag him at all. It's the club's fault for putting that in. But Dylan Brown has done nothing for this club now for 2 years. If anything, he's continued to just basically look. Last year, it wasn't his fault he's being played out of position, but he didn't really deliver at all when he promised the world and said he needed to give the club back after a really, really poor 2023. He just, for mine, hasn't come back at all. So I know there's a lot of talk out there about Lomax, Moses, Iongi. I think Dylan Brown coming into the year is the most under pressure Parramatta player that there is. And now with this contract talk as well, it's tenfold because I've got no doubt there's a number of clubs that will throw crazy money at him. He's got to be prepared to realize what will come with that as well and the added pressure onto that and the lifestyle he wants to choose. He needs to start being careful with because being a 1.2 million player, if that's what he ends up being, good luck. Good luck with that because going off current form, I wouldn't pay him over 700. And that's just being really honest about it.
I agree with that assessment completely. I have said I didn't believe that Luai could do what he did last year. Like I didn't see that coming from him in terms of like the taking control of a team. But I never thought Dylan Brown could. And I hate to say that, but he didn't. He showed what he can do. And I understand we had other injuries. Yeah, we did. But we didn't have injuries enough that we should have placed where we did with a player worth $900,000 still as our like main man, and up and coming players like who can play in the halves, that could compare with him. And yeah, I agree with you in the sense that he's a player to watch in that sense for sure. Of like, he's now asking for the world. If his asking price is $1.2 million, and he's never shown anywhere near delivering that. Yes, he can win a game. Like 3 times a year he can win a game for you. Ugh, woohoo. You know what I mean? Like that's great. You need to be doing that like 60% of games, 70% of games to be asking that, if not more, like well more than that. So yeah. We all know what he can do. He's probably the best defensive half in the comp, but defense, defense wins games. But as a halfback or a 5'8", defense isn't supposed to be the main thing you do. It should be putting points on the board.
And I keep saying, I think he has one of the most exciting and best running games in the competition. He just doubts himself constantly, it feels like. Just go to your natural game. Act as if you're playing in the park. I hope Riles unlocks him this year and lets him play like that. I'm just very worried that already at the start of the season, pre-season, and there's already noise about it. And again, it's not that part isn't his fault. It was agreed upon. It's the club's fault. But yeah, Trav, keen to hear your thoughts quickly around the Dylan Brown stuff as a non-supporter, I guess.
Asking price is very different to signing price. So
apparently there's still clubs interested at that price. So
surely there's no one stupid enough to pay him for that much money. But if there is, well, all to you. Just be interesting to see what you put around him. But there'd need to be some pretty serious salary cap help for in the newer EBAs if Dylan Brown gets 1.2 mil. But I like the question was, who are you looking forward to watching? I'm just not sure that Dylan Brown's someone I'm looking forward to watching, other than just to see whether he turns up and plays big, and that shows that he's probably signed somewhere else, or he's got his heart set on going somewhere else. I'm not sure I'm very keen to even watch Dylan Brown at this point in time.
I'd still actually say he is someone I am keen on watching, considering he's finally got his halves partner back in Mitch. And he sort of he did have to step up a little bit on his own last year, and sometimes that can make a better player out of you when you sort of have that main half come back. It's happened to players before. So I actually am excited to see how he goes. I do hope that he comes back and he kills it. That'd be great as an Eels fan, of course. But like Joel said, he does have one of the best running games in the comp. He is one of the better defending players in the comp. If he can just get his sort of decision-making and attack right, he will be great, and he can be. And so I'm excited to see if that can happen, but
Trav, 4.
Number 4.
Go 4 and 5. Go 4 and 5 if you want.
All right, no, let's just go 4. But because my 5th one is the big end of the show one. But number 4, Nicho Hynes. So I honestly believe there is literally no player that is entering 2025 under any more pressure. There is no one else in this competition that enters the 2025 season with more pressure on him. He is literally the NRL scapegoat. He's the scapegoat for everything. He's the scapegoat for Origin when he gets an Origin call up. And they lost, and it's all on Hynes. Everything is blamed on him. When even in his Dally M year, there was still blame on Hynes for the fact that the Sharks didn't win it and what they were doing. He's just literally a blame and a scapegoat. They're in a premiership window this year, and probably next year as well. If they don't win it, there's going to be a lot said of Nicho Hynes, and it's literally going to come down onto him. He's their $1 million halfback. He's literally their $1 million halfback. So I'm very keen to see what he can do. I'm really keen to see and watch him. I think Nicho Hynes is a superstar. Literally, he's a superstar in this game. He's won a Dally M. He can play. There's some serious things that the Sharks need to do to support him. There's some serious things that the New South Wales club need to do to support him a little bit more. But I'm very keen to watch Nicho Hynes this year. And look, I wanted to avoid it, but in terms of talking about him, because it seems to pop up everywhere and anywhere. But the question is, who am I keen to watch? And I think the Sharks are going to be at least top 4, if not top 3, top 2. And I think Nicho Hynes has got to be a really big player in that field, and I'm very keen to see what he does. But if it doesn't happen, I'm being in this role with League of Inches and what we do. We're going to talk about it. We're going to see what happens. It creates stories for us to chat about, which I'm eager to see too. So, I have to say Nicho Hynes there.
It's not a conversation clubs like to have, but it's almost straight away as soon as Nicho Hynes is mentioned. If I'm the coach, I'm saying to him, can I have you for 1 year as a Shark, please? Do not put your hat in the ring for Origin. Do not even tempt it. Do not try and be this savior if there's 3 injuries. Give me 1 year of you and have that confidence that always just seems the last couple of years just gets shot every time it comes to Origin. Continue to ride it, because started last year, he was actually on fire. He was playing some really good football. And again, I think people forget that, because once Origin came, he got into the big arena, he was shot once again. And it's just 2 years in a row now where, unfortunately, the Sharks have been the impact of the rep scene, and Nicho Hynes is not being able to handle it mentally. And that's unfortunately where it is with Nico. He's a player. He can play. We all know it. Yeah, I think he'll go to 5'8" as well this year, which will be, I think, a better move for him. I think Trindle will take a lot more of the ownership of this team. She's the talking point in itself, and I'm sure we will talk about it more when we do that season preview when it comes to the Sharks, because that's huge. But that could also play into Nico's hands a lot, because it will take away having to be that guy almost every play, and he can start to play that more fullback role, which he killed at the Storm, and go back to playing a bit of eyes up footy and just going, you know what? I see some space. It's the third tackle. Pass me the ball. Off I go. I'm really keen to see that part of Nico again.
I do hope that some of the pressure can get taken off him by the players around him, because that is sort of seems to happen, is that he just is, yeah, like Trav said, he's the scapegoat. He just, if the team loses, and I know that's a halfback's role. Like a halfback sort of role is win or lose. It seems to be that it comes down to, did your halfback do enough? Is it the halfback's fault? It always seems to happen. But also when you're getting paid the amount of money that he is, and that's why he's on the pressure that he is. We all know he can play. But I suppose it doesn't matter, because I'm still excited to see him play through the season, because we know what he can do in games that aren't as high pressure. But I still, for mine, think that he's not a player who plays well under high pressure, like in those high intensity games. So in those games where they really need a win, or if it's like a game where it's really close, he just doesn't tend to break the mold and do that big play that they need. It seems to be, he's almost like, I don't want to call him a flat track bully, because to finish fourth, you can't be a flat track bully necessarily. But it doesn't seem like they beat top 8 teams, or definitely not top 4 teams, almost ever when he's the half in the team. So I'm excited to watch him play. But that's what I want to see. I want to see the Sharks beat teams that people say they won't win against. That's what I want to start to see happen from them. And I want to see that happen not in spite of him, but because of him. He's got one of the best running outside backs. Sorry, he's got one of the best second rowers running off him in the game in Britain Nakora. He's got one of the best try scoring second rowers, and I guess that's obviously partly him. But he runs great lines. Look for that. I don't know. I hope that he does well. I really do, because I don't think he's a bad person. He seems like a great guy, but he just needs to learn. Hopefully, the experiences that he's had actually help him more under pressure from now on. But we'll see.
He's still 28 years old too. So
he got heaps of time.
He's still young. He's still got heaps of time. But yeah, the pressure keeps getting put on him. I'll also say you talked about Nickera there, and one of the best running ones. He's also probably got, as a 4-player rotation, or not rotation, but a 4-player position. He's probably got the best 2 centers or combined the best centers and the best wingers in the game. Running on these outsides that he can play with as that halfback. So everything's there for him. And now you add in AFB. And what he's got, everything's there for him, which is therefore why I think I'm so keen to see watch him. Because if it doesn't work out and they don't win that premiership, I can almost guarantee that it'll come down to Nico Hines. It'll be all about Nico Hines.
So they don't have the competition within 2 years. I don't think Nico will be a Shark after that. I think they'll.
Oh no, I'm talking this year. I'm not talking about if they don't win it this year.
Okay.
Yeah, they'll be. They're full blown in premiership window. Like they are full blown there, right? You don't go and spend that money on AFB. You don't allow Atkinson to walk next year. You don't
they're not building.
You're starting to talk. There's talk around Mulatalo's about to go. Like they're there, right? They're talking 2025 has to be my premiership window. So, and if it doesn't happen this year, it'll be the chat will be on him. It'll be his fault. So
very fair. Jake, give us your 4 and 5. Me and you will go our 4 and 5 because Trav wants to end the show. So who knows what he's got in store.
All right. Well, I've still got a few, and
it's
I don't know who Trav's. I've still got a few, and I don't know who's Trav's is. So I don't want to hit his last one. So I'm going to just go and say Blaze Talangi is an interesting one for me. He's I'll give you my 5th in a second, but Blaze Talangi for me is somebody who I find interesting. Obviously because he was so highly touted and all the drama that happened with the Eels last year, plus going into a Penrith system where Luai has won with them 4 premierships. He's going into a 4-time premiership winning team, and if they sort of flop, that I assume would have to be very largely part to him. But it's going to be interesting to see how he goes. And my other one is actually a Storm player as well. I just didn't want to have a 3-person Storm one last time, which is Stefano Utoikamanu. I do want to see how he goes. He's been touted as one of the better props in the game when he was up and coming. He's now been in the game for a good 3 or 4 years now, and while he has shown glimpses, he's still been in a Tigers pack that's come last, 2 years in a row.
3.
And obviously, yeah, with 3. Sorry, yeah. Well, I didn't know he was playing in that first one though. I don't think he was like a starter at the side. I know they've come 3 in a row, but I mean, anyway. At the Storm, we know what they will do to forwards. We know what they do with their forward pack. And if he's as good as anyone says, if he doesn't make it there, then he's not as good as everyone says he is. But he is going to be a weapon. I think he's going to come out and absolutely just dominate and show us why he has been talked about like this for the time that he has.
I don't know where to go. I'll go the Blaze angle. Very excited to see. I think he was treated a bit unfairly, especially by Para fans towards the back end of last year, purely out of hate because he signed a contract with someone else. And he
not just someone else.
Serious.
Panthers.
Oh, well, anyway, but end of the day, like Para didn't prioritize it and stuff signing there. So the 3 weeks before that, they were all chanting his name and saying how much they loved him. So I just thought it was quite funny. I still have a huge soft spot for him. I think he's going to be such a good player. I think once again, people are so unfair to treat these young up and coming players. And as soon as they expect 5 games and them to be superstars. And like a couple of people last year were saying, oh, his defense is rubbish. Like he dropped off a tackle or 2. He missed okay, he was a 19-year-old playing first grade and playing 3 different positions in 3 weeks. Like the guy's confidence was shot, playing in a team of players that were shot, and a coach that had no idea by that stage and was literally exhausted to the point where he just had to leave the club. So I'm so excited to see him play alongside Cleary and play at this Panthers club. It'll come back to bite Parramatta on the backside. I got no doubt about it. Even more so going back to Dylan Brown if Dylan Brown leaves, because it would have been the perfect player to replace Dylan Brown into the long-term future, Blaze Tulungi. So imagine if they lose both. That within a 12-month period will be absolutely. That's just, I don't want to think about it. But anyway, I'm very keen to watch Blaze, and I'm sure Trav can talk a bit about Stefano, which is his big dog.
Oh, I've said it heaps of times already. Like, he was that missing piece that the Storms needed for a couple of years now, and I know he's probably coming in to take that sort of Nas position, but we really needed that 50, 60-minute just enforcer in the front row forward, like someone just to stand next to Josh King and really just let him be what he is, which is just a big meathead that everyone loves, and we need that. And that's and Stefano's playmaking ability and what makes him that awesome front row forward is that. And I just think this is the perfect thing for Bellamy. He's the only dude that's come into our club basically of note in the off season. And there was a real reason for that. Like we needed that. They put no effort into. I don't know if they did, but from as far as I can see, there was limited effort in trying to get anyone else. We knew what we needed. We've got everything shored up. Basically, we've got everyone under contract for a couple of years that we really want to. What do we really need? And it was him. And so we targeted that. And so I'm super keen to do it. Word is that he dominated the preseason camp that the Storm do, and really frothed at the mouth at that. We found it tough, but yeah, word is that he's done that really good. Which, to be honest, I'd be surprised if any news come out other than that he loved it and that he was positive. If anything negative comes out of that sort of stuff, it's probably you're about to get the ass. So yeah, but word is that that's what he's done. Word is that his culture, he's bought into the culture. I saw, actually, no, I didn't see. I was talking to a friend of mine who works there, who, one thing the Storm really pride themselves on is, that they're a community club. They like to talk literally everyone from players to to the towel guys, to the locker room, to the admin, to the receptionist, to everyone the players will interact and do. And so word is he's bought into that sort of cultural stuff. So whilst that's not on field, that plays into the on field stuff. And when players see that you buy into that, you've got the respect at the Storm in terms of playing these days is really important. So yeah, I'm bloody keen to see what he can do. I've also locked him into my super coach team at this time, just for all those people who listen.
Waste of money. Unlucky. My 4 and 5. Here we go. I mentioned I've got another Storm player, unfortunately, and a little bit of a left field one here. But if you know me by now, you've listened enough. You know I am so high on this kid, Mr. Suafa'alongo. I am so excited to see him play this year, and it's more the storyline behind this because we all heard the stories about him having this get out clause if Pappy extended. Pappy has extended, and we've heard nothing. Now, this kid, this player, this bloke, I had a look before because I obviously did those top 17 of a top player in each position rankings, and we'll have those as we go throughout the year. And I looked at the fullbacks again. I've got no doubt in my mind if he can get a run-on spot at any club, I would have him within a top 8 fullback, if not higher, within 6 weeks. I reckon he's a freak. I think he's so gifted talent-wise. He's got such good feet. He's agile. At the moment, unfortunately, he's behind a hell of a good Storm back line and just can't get a look in. And I'm just thinking to myself, how long can this take where he and his managers just continue to sit there going, I'm in a great system. Like, yeah, awesome, great. There's got to be a time where you go, I don't want to waste my talents. I want to be on the big stage week to week, and I want to show everyone what I've got. So I'm really keen to see what this storyline has to play out this year because I think something's going to happen. Whether it's going elsewhere or just finding a way to push himself into this team and getting 80-minute performances in, we just need to see more of Sua, I believe. The last one, mentioned the Tigers before, and Jake rightly mentioned a bit of arrogance. Terrell May for mine. Went on that podcast a couple of weeks ago, basically said he's told Benji that he wants 80 minutes week in, week out. And I love it. I know there's people out there that laugh at it. And I absolutely froth listening to that sort of stuff because, again, he's going to a club that has been beaten to a pulp now, and they've basically lost their identity. They've just been the laughing stock of the competition for so long now. Now to have someone like that who is just saying, honestly, I'll go out there and I'll just go. I'll literally die on the field. Like he said that in the interview. He just wants to push himself. So to know I've got that sort of player at my club now, I'd be really, really rapt about. And I'm so keen to see what Terrell May's got for this year.
I'm excited for Terrell May as well, definitely. He's somebody who, actually, funnily enough, didn't have him on my list, but I think that it's exactly what the Tigers needed, especially losing Stefano. But I think Terrell May actually provides, at the moment, more. And that's only seeing what we've seen. But I think Terrell May will actually provide more for the Tigers than Stefano ever would at the Tigers, if that makes sense. Because Terrell's ready to just kind of rip and tear. And he's a bit older as well. He's ready to just rip and tear. And we saw what he can kind of do even against a beaten packet, like at the Roosters when they sort of had some people out and stuff, and he was like their main man. He's done that 80 minutes, and he doesn't slow down as a prop. No. Like 80 minutes not slowing down is insanity, and it's just such a godsend. But 80 minutes.
He does marathon. He did a marathon the other week. It's just ridiculous.
Crazy.
His motor is just next level,
and it is. But one thing I will say is 80 minutes week in and week out. Us as para fans especially should. I know, but I'm just saying, like, us as para fans should. We've seen what Brad did to Paulo and to Reg in making them run basically 70 minutes a game, and what it will do to you halfway through towards the end of the season, kind of thing. And I just hope that isn't. I hope that he can do that for 5 games in a row, 6 games in a row. But then I hope he gets that sort of like, okay, you can have a bit of a breather game here where you can kind of actually get some recovery in, and then maybe do it again. I just hope that they don't overwork him in the sense that they ruin him in that, like, I don't know. It's something that we've sort of seen, and I hope that they don't do that. But he's still young enough that he'd be fine. He could handle it, I think.
Trav, Are you going to go to your last one now?
Yeah, look, on Sewer, dude's got talent, serious talent. And yeah, he is sitting at he did sign a 5-year contract. He signed it for some pretty good money. I think he's quite at this point in time happy to just try and just keep developing. He's still a baby. Like, he's literally still a baby. I think we just got to lay off him a little bit in terms of what he can do. And I reckon the pathway's been made for him. I think this year he's that sort of first man up, next man up. He'll play because he can play sort of anywhere. He's that fix for Pappenhausen if he gets a potential injury. But he knows 2026 is going to be sort of that year where he'll be called upon. 2027, it's kind of his team. So I think the pressure off Sewer is good. It is just everyone sort of needs to just drop away from him and just realize sort of what situation he's in. But I do get it. Like, he is a superstar. He's a man in the waiting, and clubs need to froth at the mouth for that sort of stuff. Terrell May is a superstar in the making. And I think the Tigers can, he can unlock the Tigers way more than what Luai can. And I think that's something that I'm very keen to watch and see. I'm really sorry, Joel. I am talking about this as something that I've prepared for, and I have two, but I have two things that I need to talk about. And I know it's been an hour-long podcast, but I really got to say these ones. What am I really looking forward to watching? Now, this one's not a player, so this is why I'm getting away with my fifth one coming next. But I'm really looking forward to seeing the playing out of the officiating this year. And I really need to say that because I'm sick and tired of the rubbish that keeps getting put forward to us as fans, that keeps getting put forward to us as paying customers of this competition, to what the officiating keeps putting forward. And unfortunately, it is playing too much into results. Rubbish results. I just need to see the official. I really want to just see the refs just shut up, stop being douchebags, stop trying to control games to say that you are, like, I get it. Yes, you are the one with the P in your mouth. I get it. And you are numero uno. But stop thinking that you're better than anyone else. Stop overtaking games. Stop trying to control games. In terms of what happens with results and things like that. So yeah, I just wanted to really throw that out there for a really quick chat between you two, because I know it's players to watch, but this is players. Like, it's still the officiating of what it is. It's the box, it's the review, the video review. It's just the whole thing. And I'm very keen to see how that plays out. And I'm keen to watch that and what happens in 2025, because, to be honest, as much as it was spoken about last year, this has been quite a quiet off season about this. And I'm really shocked by it, because Joel, you and I called out about this before the grand final, straight after the grand final, throughout most of the final series, and throughout probably the last 5 to 6 weeks, about how bad the officiating's been and how inconsistent it was.
Can I jump in, Joel, there?
Off you go. I'm trying to not get myself in trouble.
Just one thing that they've finally done this year, and it's been a very long time since I feel like this has happened, is they haven't introduced any new rules. They're giving the referees a chance to catch up. Now, I'm not saying, because there's some real basic stuff that referees mess up, like, not watching for, like, to play the ball properly and things like that, but they're also getting thrown new stuff that they need to be, like, focusing on, I feel like, and they will focus on something for, like, a few weeks at a time. Like the disruptor rule last year, that was there for what, 6 weeks, and it just disappeared. Just didn't get talked about again after that. So, like,
downtown,
they're getting stuff. Yeah, they're getting stuff thrown at them where they need to, like, really watch for those things, and so they're missing. I feel like they're missing other stuff. For once, I hope there's a lot of crackdowns. I just hope that this year, with the no new rules, it gave them a chance to basically, like, okay, these are the same rules that we're, like, going to stick to and we're going to work with, and we're going to, hopefully that allows them to be a bit more consistent, I feel like. But that's the key thing, is, the head of is it the head of Graham Ansley? What's he? He's head of something.
Head of football.
Head of football, yeah. So he always comes out and he always defends the referees. And just once, if they do make those mistakes, I basically would like him to go, you know what? They did make a mistake, and that's okay. Like, if they're honest, and they're human beings, they still get paid a lot more than most of us to do that. But people do make mistakes. It just can't be every single game, and it's the inconsistency between games and between referees that's the issue, I feel like. And I'm hoping that this year it will be better, just like you said, Trav, like with no new rule changes and stuff.
Joel's gone silent.
I don't know. I don't know where to go. Honestly, I don't know where to go from here because there is about 20 things I could probably say. Do I want to say it? I don't think so. I
just threw that in there, but yeah.
Yeah, I just feel like from the amount of talk that was the season and how bad it felt like it got to basically become now silent and not hear anything in this off season is very, very alarming in my opinion. And it just feels like once again it's been swept under the rug. It's not in the eye of the storm, so let's not worry about it. And that's hugely concerning because again, we spoke about it in the finals. The fact that it's a completely different game come finals, it's ridiculous, and I'm really over it. And you go one or the other. You go, we love how the finals football is played. That's how it's going to be the rest of the year. And if they decide that, then I'm sorry, it's up to the coaches then to stop trying to exploit everything and just for the betterment of the game and what we are as rugby league community, play to the rules for once. Like, I know it's always all good to make sure you're ahead of the game as such, but for the better of the game, man, like we're just got to start. Like, yep, the referees have been so poor, but I don't know. It's just, we could go on about this for hours.
Can of worms I opened up, and I wanted to put it out there because it's what I'm very eager and keen to see, and I'm very intrigued to watch. It does involve the players, although it involves all of them. And unfortunately, too often, the fans talk about referees in certain games being another player on that team. So therefore, that's why I put it up there. So I kind of used a bit of a play on your words there, but so I apologize, but I just wanted to throw it in. But this one is on players, and I've left this one to last because it's lots of players. But I'll do I'll do the first paragraph, and I've titled this one "Moving Pieces." What I'm really keen to see is the moving pieces that's happened. And my question is, I can't remember a year in at least the last 10 years where there's been so many intriguing and interesting storylines of players who have moved from club to clubs. Like of solid names of players who are really good players or have got amazing talents and ready to unleash. I just can't remember a year. And again, people, please correct me if I'm wrong and start listing the names. But I've got this is a point and a point. So I'm so keen, as we touched on, but I'm so keen to see the Panthers boys now who are now not Panthers boys after 4 premierships. So I'm keen to watch what happens with Jerome Luai, and we spoke about him. I'm really keen to see what the Wires do and how James Fisher-Harris happens over there because he's a freak. I'm really keen to see what Sanua Taruva does at West Tigers. So, and what the Panthers boys do. And unfortunately for all those 3 boys, they have not gone to great situations. So they've come from a 4-peat and not gone to great situations. So what's actually going to happen? And then the boys going to the Panthers, like you said, Jake, in Papali'i. So I've got him down, and Blaze Talangi, which is what you've got. And we've still got to remember, as you said, Joel, that he's 19 bloody years old. But, how does the Panthers unleash him? I'm intrigued and keen to watch the play out of what Ben Hunt does over there at the Broncos and how he can change that whole club. I'm so keen on Stefano, like we said before. I'm bloody keen to see AFB and how he moves and changes the Sharks. Keen to see Terrell May. I'm keen, as much as I think this was a silly signing, but I'm keen to see RCG and what Campbell Gillard does at the Titans. I just don't think the signing's there, but he's still a bloody good player. Far out. He's a rep player, and he's still got the talent to be a rep bloody player. Just in a weird situation, but isn't that intriguing? And I'm keen to watch that. Like, I'm so keen to watch what happens in these 2 centers in terms of Val Holmes and what he does moving from, pretty success Cowboys to not successful Dragons, and how he plays out and what happens there. I'm keen to see Zach Lomax, who's probably used to not being successful, so he's probably not going to be too bad over there. But But I'm keen to see him because he's a freak. He opened himself up into being, top 3 in that position as a winger, and now he has to play a center. I'm really keen and intrigued to watch that. I'm bloody keen to see what Gutho does. Like, can he be, Gutho again? Just for one more year. God, what a storyline that would be. It'd be like a really beautiful NRL fairy tale if Gutho can just go and be King Gutho for another year. And as much as that might hurt the Eels fans, I think you all would really appreciate to see that because he's just a good guy and he's a good dude. And I'm really keen to see that. I'm bloody keen to see what happens with John Bateman. Like he got the ass from the Tigers, man, and he's just gone to the Cowboys who are playing in the finals. Right, who played the finals last year, and the Tigers gave him the ass. So, I'm so keen to see what he does up there in a good side like that. And I think one of the most underrated, it was only just happened, but I think by the end of the year, I think people are going to talk about this as one of the most underrated signings. And I'm bloody so keen to see what Emre Gula does. And I think that's a really underrated signing. So there's such a big block of players, and that's only like guys that have got decent names, or there's other ones like Jack Bird, like Bruce Hunt, like Jarrell Skelton, like Ilias, there's so many other like second tier ones now that have moved around that have got talent, but we're not really, that I didn't mention there, that I'm really keen to see. So I've labeled that moving pieces. I wanted to sort of end on that. I'm sorry it's not one, but it's like I'm just so keen to see how all those storylines play out in 2025 because there's just so many and it's freaking exciting. And it hasn't been like that. And we probably talked for a long time in 2024 thinking, what the hell? Like nothing's happening. Like 2025, what's going on? And then have a look at that list of stuff that's moved.
So you go, Joel.
I just want to. I didn't want to put him on my list because I think everyone knows how much I love the bloke, and it still sucks so much to know he's not running out in the blue and gold this year. But what you rightly said on Gutho, it doesn't even annoy me. It doesn't even anger me. Like I want him to do well, and I hope he does well because it still hurts what's happened. It hurts that he's gone, and I know that it was mutual and stuff. I get all that. It just hurts. It sucks because as a Para fan and what's happened the last couple of years and what we've been dealt with, he just tried his ass off every bloody week. And that was all we ever wanted from this playing group. And he was the only one that could hold his hand up and say, I did that every week for us. He played with broken bones for like the last 6 weeks last year. Why? To help us avoid the spoon? Like, who really cares? We've got the spoon, we've got the spoon. Who cares? Like, kick up the arse the club probably needed at the time. So I think so many people out there are going to underestimate and forget how big he was to that club. And I hope he kills it at the Dragons. I sincerely do because he deserves it. The Dragons who have given him a chance and given him probably 1 year too long if we're being realistic on his contract, but he deserves it. He deserves that payday. He deserves a bit more security. I hope he has a great year and a great few years at that club.
I'll leave it on Gutho. I won't keep talking about it. I fully agree with everything Joel just said, but I'll sort of talk more on Trav's point. I think that this year has one of the greatest potentials in recent times, like you said, for it to be a year of great change for clubs. I think anything could happen. To be honest, the only real club that stayed as strong, if not got stronger, is the Storm. Because I'd say even the Panthers technically weakened a little bit from a premiership winning side to losing a few players, with that premiership experience. They've still even weakened a little bit. Not to say that they're going to not make the 8 or any of that crap, but
a little bit. They lost the best prop in the world. They've lost arguably the top 2 5/8s in the comp. They've lost some good play. They don't undersell it. They've lost. The thing with Penrith is they're very good. Yeah, they're very good at replacing. That's the thing. So.
Yeah, they've definitely weakened a fair bit. But I just wanted to make it clear that I don't think they're not going to make the 8 or anything like that. They're still a weapon side. But this year has such a potential. I'm actually really excited for footy. So end of last year, obviously, being an Eels fan, I sort of lost a little bit of that excitement to watch the footy, especially with how we were going. And while, yes, the thought of the current Eels side excites me, I'm going to step away from talking about that. In general, for football itself, I'm really excited because, like you said, Trav, there are so many storylines to kind of keep track of that it makes me want to really in depth sort of watch every game, because there's the games where you sort of chuck on and you watch, but you're doing other things and stuff like that at the same time. Whereas I think this year there's not a team. Yeah, maybe the Knights. Other than that, there's not really a team.
The Pongers.
Yeah, the Bongers. There's not really a team that I don't care about watching at all. Like every other team, I'm pretty much like I could watch anyone versus anyone and be excited for it. You know what I mean? Like it's a year where I feel the buzz around like anything can happen. And I agree with you, Joel. I actually do think that the Storm are going to win the comp. That's my pick for it, but that's for another day. Other than sort of that, I think that no spot is guaranteed in the 8, like in the comp itself. Like I think there's going to be so much change. The Roosters have so many players out. That's a storyline. The Tigers have so many like fresh new players in and players from a 4-peat winning side like coming in. Fresh new baby-faced Eels squad. Can the veterans do what they are do? Like the Dragons, they've signed veteran great players who might be able to pull out that something out of the hat or inspire their younger players. So there's just so much to keep for. Can Penrith get a 5-peat? Like, can they still do what they do with the players that they've lost? Yeah, it would be absolutely ridiculous. But that's just another one of those like super exciting storylines that just everyone can get excited for this year. I think this is going to be one of the most exciting years of footy that has happened in like the last 5 years, if not longer. I'm very excited.
That is the best way to end this part as well. In saying, literally, we're asking a question: if a team in the NRL era, salary cap era, can go 5 in a row. That in itself is just
insane.
I'm sorry. I love this game. I absolutely froth this game. This is just what a season 2025 is going to be. I cannot wait.
I had to scroll up. So as I scrolled up, I realized that Damien Cook is also someone else I'm very keen to see in his storyline and what he does. I missed that one because he's written. I just didn't.
Yeah,
scroll.
I had in my things because I still had a few extras. I'll quickly note them. I had Lehigh Hapawate, Mark Nawaqunatawase. No, I tried it. It didn't work. But importantly, I had at the Rabbitohs, Peter Mamazelis and Jamie Humphries, because that's a little storyline in and of itself. Who replaces Damien Cook, who's been their go-to guy for so long? And is it both of them? Do they share minutes, or does one of them get that 80 minutes as well? I had Big Tino coming back from injury, Luke Metcalf, who crushed it last year, and I had Gutho, but I didn't want to talk about him, so I left that one alone. But there's so many storylines. It's going to be such a fun year. It's going to be such a fun year.
Honestly. That actually hit me hard.
It hurt so much.
Got me realizing that Gutho is no longer an Eel. Anyway,
I gave him nothing but positive praise. I don't know what.
It's good. It actually got me. But anyway, shout out to TC Coolers as well. Once again, weekly coolers getting sent out or have been sent out. A couple of the fan questions. Honestly, guys, really appreciate everyone that's sending through. Instagram followers, pick your game up. You haven't been great to start the year, but Facebookers, obviously a lot has to do with the subscribers and they're getting their double entries in. Really appreciate everything you're doing so far. There's already a heap of Supercoach questions as well. If you're listening to this, you're a Supercoach player, go in, make sure you get your questions in before tomorrow night's episode or tonight's when you're listening to this. Mark Brown, do you think the NRL will ever bring back the Nines competition? And then he goes, sorry, just seen the post from a couple of days ago. I'm slow on that one. Mark, don't worry about being slow. It deserves to be spoken about again because a lot of people had their say on that post. And I just was sitting there watching, obviously, a lot of the past players on that Nines weekend over the weekend. And granted, wasn't the best quality of football, but it was just great to have the footy back. And I'm honestly just over the trials, to be honest. I'm over the preseason crap. I don't think people realize how much. I'm not a huge fan of trials. I don't think we need them as much anymore. It's not 10 years ago. I would just love the Nines back. Give us the Nines weekend and watch these young players come out, or if the teams want to stack their teams. Just free reign it, go it. I did see something in one of the comments and it said, do it in the off season. So some of the England teams that can come out, all for that idea as well. Like, just bring it back. Just please give us the Nines back. It was such a fun way. I loved it. I loved that weekend. Boys, are you a fan of the Nines?
Love it. I absolutely love the Nines. It's something it gives. I know that trials give you an opportunity to see like the younger players, like the developing players coming through. But at the same time, it's such an exciting format. especially, it's just something that you bring out your crazy fast players, and that brings heaps of hype to them too. Like,
Sewer.
it just
Sewer at
yeah,
the
or
nines.
Sewer would just dominate. Actually, Storm would dominate the nines, I think, just because of how much electricity they sort of have in their squad. Like, you imagine a squad with like, Hughes, Munster. I know they probably wouldn't play those guys because like you don't want to get them injured before the season. But Pappenhausen, Suoliti, Wishart, like they would absolutely dominate the nines at the moment just with the squad that they've got. It would just be insane.
Grant Anderson to play there.
Oh, I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it come back, and I wish that they never got rid of it. And yeah, I think that trials are a little bit outdated. Coaches should try their stuff at the start of the season. If it doesn't work, that's what your preseason's for. If you want to do an exhibition match or something, let them. But I don't know.
I think people don't realize anymore. It's the modern day of rugby and sport. They're training harder than they play in these trial games. Like if you look back on it, like look back at last year's trial games, the star players were likely to get through 40 minutes. And you sit there going, like, they're training in a post sessions and stuff harder than they're playing these trial games. I don't think we need it.
I don't like trials either.
The person I think of when trials happens is Hayes Dunster, because like he had that. He done his ACL, MCL, and PCL, and that's basically offset his whole career. Like his whole career's been changed. The path, he was playing first grade for the Eels. His whole career path has changed after an injury that sustained for a game that didn't matter, had no relevance, like wasn't important at all, and he's changed his whole career path. And I just think that it's not worth the risk for games that don't mean anything, unless we're doing the preseason challenge properly, where the reward now actually means something to clubs, and they actually start putting money into that, where it's actually like a miniature competition in and of itself properly. Then it becomes maybe more worth it, because clubs can then start to actually be like, do we want to play this with like all of our best players to try and win this prize early at the start of the comp? What do you do? But
one of our pub talks, Joel, is what we were talking about, or going to talk about, is what one of those changes. And I think the trials need to change. Something needs to drastically happen. It's very hard to make changes though when you've got a 27 round year, plus you chuck in 3 games of Origin, plus then you've got 5 games in the or 5 weeks or 4 weeks of final. So like it's really hard to change what's going to happen in trials, and teams are going to just play the trials with the young ones, maybe get 10, 20 minutes in, 40 minutes or whatever into your stars just to get some run in your legs. But yeah, something drastically needs to happen. Is it the nines? I don't think the nines is the answer. I think the nines needs to be a separate thing completely, and not be the trials or take over that. Because I did enjoy the couple of games that I watched of that and thought it was quite fun. But yeah, something definitely needs to happen.
They whinge about too many games. Just there's no need playing those 2 or 3 weeks of trials, in my opinion. It just boggles my mind. Next up, Legends member Dane Cunningham. How many rounds before another player gets caught doing, let's just say, the wrong thing, and gets in a bit of trouble?
10.
I hope we don't see it again. But all right, Jake's gone 10. I'll go 8. It won't take too long. By round 8, someone will be in trouble. Trav?
10.
I'm going to give
Trav.
I'm giving the players some
credit.
Some credit here, and I'm going to say there will be none this year. There was too many big ones last year, and there's going to be none. There was too many big ones last year. Surely the NRL's in bloody emergency mode and gone around and said the rubbish that happened with Ezra Mam, the crap that happened with that O'Carr, the crap that happened with Mitchell, the crap that happened with Trindle, the crap that's happened with anyone else. I think the NRL surely has sent some sort of major memo to the clubs and said, pull your freaking heads in. So I'm going to give the clubs some credit this year, and there ain't going to be any.
They've all
Grown men start acting like it. Mark Brown's doubled down with another question. What do you guys think of the TV rights going up for sale? Could you see it being on Netflix or Prime, or you think it will stay with Fox and 9? One thing I feel like for this one, we need to make sure we realize as passionate rugby league fans, obviously, when it comes to streaming services like Netflix and stuff, we are so small. I don't think it would suit, and it's good business for them to take that on board. I also just continue to look back at something like the Premier League, for instance, being aired in this country. And I used to love watching it on Foxtel. Ever since it's gone, I just feel like it's destroyed the game and my love for it. Doesn't help that my team is shithouse at the moment as well. But that also, but I hope it doesn't. I think the game deserves to be that 9 or Foxtel. If anything, I think 9 should start to do a lot more for the game and show it to those fans that can't pay for those exclusive services, whether it's KO or Foxtel. But for me, I can't see Netflix or a streaming service being too keen on getting rugby league at this point.
I didn't even know about it, to be fair. I actually hadn't heard about this at all. But yeah, I mean, from all reports, Netflix didn't do such a great job like streaming that boxing fight between, it was one of the most touted events ever, and it was pretty crap for everyone to watch. Although that would be a lot more sort of people watching that than probably one game.
I don't think that was Netflix's fault. I think that was the athlete's fault. But yeah,
that was
it's probably pretty fair. But either way, I like it to say how it is if I can. If I like the way it's currently set up.
I like the way it's currently set up, but I would fight for this to make sure that sports in Australia has a relevance within free to air. So there has to be something, whether they just show the Friday night game or the Thursday night game, the Friday night game, a Saturday Arvo game, the Saturday night game, and one game. Like even if you only show 4 games, you've got to show at least 4. But you have to have free to air TV. There's ads and all sorts of things. So like they can still make their money off that. Nine's not going to pay chips. So it's still going to be that. I don't mind a streaming service taking it on. KO is Foxtel. So like just with some extra bits. So it's you still like, unless you have Foxtel, there's no point having KO. But I don't mind a streaming service doing it. However, there's some pretty big shoes to fill with what Fox do in terms of how they make it 4K and stuff. I think they need to have more 4K, and all games must be streamed in 4K. I just couldn't believe I watched the grand final in HD that wasn't 4K. I just thought that was a disgrace. I also think it's a disgrace at the Origin, which is probably the 4 biggest watched games of the year weren't in, 4K HD. I think that's a disgrace. So I think there's some major things that need to happen in terms of that. And if a streaming service can come in and say, this is what's going to happen, go for it. I think people will pay and they'll go that way. There's lots of people who do KO and don't have Foxtel. Although KO is an overall sports thing. So, there's certainly room for it, but it costs you a fortune, and there's certainly big shoes with Fox if you're going to beat Fox out.
2 to go. Dave Johnston, the old man. Thanks for your support, old man. Surely the NRL block the Roosters bringing Manu back during the season. What are your thoughts, boys? So I think there's been a bit more news around. I think it's almost common knowledge that the Roosters are going to save some money and a spot on their roster for Joey Manu mid-year if he decides to come back and not have his player option and over in rugby and Japanese rugby. I honestly don't have a problem with this one though. Like if they're going to do this, like this is a huge call for the Roosters because for mine, they'll already be out of finals contention by then. Like it's a huge risk, and to basically go half a year with that chunk of money away and relying on Joey Manu, who's to say he won't get injured in the next couple of months as well? Like it's just there's a lot of risk to it. If the Roosters are prepared to, no worries. They're going to be under the cap, no worries. I know there's a few out there that are up in arms about it, but I just don't really care, boys.
I'm with you. I agree. Like if they can keep their roster spot open and they have the money, there's no real reason. Other teams have done mid-season signings before. Like the Panthers in that year, I was going to say in that year where they won the comp. Sorry, any of those. They brought across what's his name, Pangai Jr. You know what I mean? Like they brought him across just before the finals. Storm brought across at one point old mate from the Tigers, the winger.
Oh, Nofaluma.
Yeah, Nofaluma. Like,
Well, that was a
like
trade.
teams have
Swap.
for who?
They swapped. Nofa swapped.
For
There
who?
was a swap. I can't remember, but yeah, it was.
I thought it was just for the
Nofa-
finals.
No, there was a swap, and it wasn't just for the finals, but yeah, Nofa wasn't playing, so
Oh, well, anyway, at the same token, I think that it's totally fine if they keep their roster spot open. They come in under the cap. There's nothing illegal about it. Then there's no reason why he can't.
yeah, couldn't agree more. Like last year, there was the two Union boys that came over and played the end of the year. You know, yeah, I don't see a problem with it. And if I would dare say that Manu, if they're not going to play finals, it looks like they're not doing too well before round 10, he's not even going to go there anyways, and we're not even going to bother with the conversation. But yeah, I don't have a problem with it at all. I don't think it's an issue. The game is set up to have these types of things happen, like where you can have player swaps and that sort of stuff. So if he's not on a contract anywhere else and he's got an option to get out, then yeah, absolutely, I don't see a problem with it.
And to be honest, we haven't really seen it yet because he's been playing in the off season. But I just want him back in the game. He's a freak. I love watching him play. So get him back in the game, please. Last one, Daniel Halston. Which coaches are under the most pressure to hold their jobs this year? For mine, my main vote is O'Brien. Second vote is O'Brien. Third vote is O'Brien. And a quick shout out, maybe Todd Payton might have a little sneaky there. That's off the top of my head. I think that's the two that for mine straight away I feel like could be under a bit of pressure. Trav, got anyone?
Go, Jake.
If you've got someone, I'm happy for you to go.
I've got a little list. So yeah, clearly AOB for sure, right? And I don't think he's got any clauses in his contract this year that keeps him if he wins a certain amount of games like he had last year. So I think all Knights fans are sitting there going, "Yes, this is our year. Let's go." They're happy to bomb out this year just to try and get rid of him. I reckon. I'd love to know. Knights fans, correct me if I'm wrong there, but I reckon you're all hoping he goes. I think Payton is under pressure. Yep, okay, played finals last year. I don't think that's enough. I don't think the style of play and what they do is enough, and I think there's some pressure there. I think Desi Hasler's under some serious pressure because on paper that Titans list is pretty good, and as good as Desi Hasler is, the Titans need relevance. They're slowly disappear. Well, not slowly. They're quickly disappearing into irrelevance, and they've got a list on paper that can that shows a bit more relevance and what happened. So I think Desley Hazard's under pressure, and I reckon Benji Marshall's under some serious pressure because I don't think what happened in 2024 is enough. I don't think there's any. I've been a pretty negative talker about Benji Marshall, but I really didn't see anything that Benji Marshall sort of imprinted on the Tigers last year in 2024, and they've made some signings and did some things. So there's some big news there. But telling your boys to turn up in suits to the box is not going to be is not going to win games. So I think he's under some pretty big pressure.
Jake, has Trevor you with anyone?
Oh, yeah, no, he hasn't really. He's done it. He's hit everyone that I'm pretty much the same.
I'll ask you one question. There's one coach that you reckon gets sacked this year. Who's your favorite?
Oh, O'Brien.
Other than him, because everyone's talking about him.
Other than him, if the Tigers don't perform this year at all, like if they get another spoon, Benji's gone. He's out of there for sure. If they get another spoon, he's definitely gone. If they get close to the 8, I'm gonna say Benji.
There's lots of stories around, hey, like Madge is under pressure. Bennett's going to be under pressure, returning back to the Roosters. Like there's some coaches under pressure, but I don't think anyone's under pressure enough to get sacked.
Not those two, for sure. Not after their first year. You can't really. I feel like you can't be under pressure to get sacked after your first year.
Yeah. But once again, shout out to the TC Coolers. If you are after some coolers, custom-made ones, if you're after a League of Inches cooler, look at these bad boys. If you don't win them, you don't want to try your luck, message the page, you can purchase them, get bar mats, things like that through TC Coolers as well. They're a great brand. Give them a click there, give them some love on social media. But thank you, everyone. Make sure you get your Supercoach questions in. By the time you listen to this, you've probably got less than 12 hours to get all those in. There's already about 3 or 4 really good ones in there as well, which will get us going. Trav, do you have can you give them anything about who we're doing? What teams are we doing tomorrow night? Normally I throw to Jesse by now, and he knows it off by heart, but I haven't heard anything yet.
I am all honesty, I haven't looked at it at all. So yeah,
No, me either.
no, so
that'd be
my bad. But I will be prepared. Don't worry.
It'd be a
I just had a
surprise,
thought.
but
I just had a thought. Sticky Ricky. He's a. I reckon he actually
But
has
he's
a bit of
so
pressure on
sticky
him.
that he ain't going to get rid. They're not going to get rid
I
of
reckon
him.
he's got some risk about him. He hasn't done anything for a few years now. I reckon there's some risk there. Oh, sorry.
But no one else
leave
wants
it
to
there.
go to Canberra and coach.
Fair call.
Sticky's there as long as he wants to be there. And
Yeah.
I feel like he doesn't want to go anywhere anytime soon. So that's it. Thank you guys. Thanks for listening. Again, hit that like, hit that subscribe, do all that stuff. Follow us on social media, please. And Legends Group, where I think we're up to about 35 or so. So that's flying along now. There's so much content. I'm not kidding in that, guys. Get your Supercoach teams analyzed by Jesse, Trav. $2.99 a month is an absolute steal. It's so much cheaper than anything I've seen that's close to it. We keep saying it, less than a cup of coffee. And look, if you win the 50 grand or 100 grand or whatever Supercoach is doing this year, $2.99 a month, bring it. Thank you. Catch you all for the Supercoach episode tomorrow night. Ciao.